Oh,
We're
look at
live
that.
on X. There we go. Okay, guys, we're back.
We are now live on X and live on YouTube. Look at that. All right, let's start again.
Oh, we're on YouTube.
Yeah, we're live on both places.
Perfect. My goodness, guys.
I'm Dave Garrett.
Hi.
I'm Dave Garrett. I'm the co-founder of dVIN Labs, where we are building the unified protocol to put the $1 trillion wine asset class on chain. I'm here with my co-founders.
That's a pretty sweet one-liner, if you ask me. Nice intro, Dave. So guys, if you are tuning in again, welcome back. We're having a little bit of an issue with social media today, as it is flooded with a lot of things that we're not going to get into. Because
a lot of things happening online today. I don't know if anybody noticed.
Right. So here we are. If you're catching this in the midst of all the noise, welcome back to another Wine Wednesday. Dave's introduced himself. My name's Jana Kryline, also one of the founders of dVIN Labs. Here drinking wine. Dave's already given up the fact that he's on the last glass of a bottle for whatever reason. And hi, Rodolfo. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Been a long day so far. Even on a day like today, even Rodolfo should be drinking. I don't care if it's 10 a.m.
Yeah, you can say that again. I wish I were, but at least. And hi everyone, I'm Rodolfo, the third leg of the stool, and here to answer any questions about monastic orders and medieval religious institutions in Catalonia.
Right, and in case anyone's wondering where that came from, Dave was just describing the wine that he's drinking. Dave, you want to go at that really quick one more time so that everybody on YouTube gets it?
Sure. So I am drinking a glass of wine from Scala Day, which is a winery in the Priorat in Spain. I was just saying, I told a whole long story about it that I'm sure we will post as a clip because it's cool. It's actually really cool. And it has to do with everything from the sacking of the Roman Empire all the way through to Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin. And so if you want to know how those two things meet in a glass of wine, you should tune into the clip that I'm sure we will clip for you sometime soon. But I'll leave it at that for right now. Well, just bear in mind, just know it's Grenache and Carignan. It's fantastic. It's from 2019, and it's just one of my favorite wines from nearby. Nice.
All right. I'll go next. It's Wine Wednesday. I am drinking wine as well today. It is 5 o'clock here, so 5:15 now. So it's socially acceptable for us to be drinking. Rodolfo, you do have an excuse today, but yeah. So I'm drinking, it's funny, Dave, you're drinking a Spanish wine. Dave's based in Spain. I am based in Germany. I'm drinking a German wine. Again, different one than I was drinking last week. Today, I am drinking a Sylvaner. So guys, last week I was drinking a Riesling, obvious choice from Germany. Today, I'm drinking a Sylvaner from the Würzburger Stein. So most people think about wine in Germany and they think about Riesling and they think about the Mosel. Not very many people outside of Germany or Austria or maybe Alsace would really think about one of the other regions where I actually kind of found my footing in the wine industry, really, which is Franconia. And so in Franconia, Sylvaner is king. And I'm drinking a 2000, this is pretty young wine. It's a 2022 and it's an Erste Lage, which is Premier Cru in Germany. And I used to work for this winery. And the reason that I chose it today is because I got a little bit excited. A couple of weeks ago, we had Canadian Thanksgiving. I'm based in Germany, but I'm Canadian. And so I opened up some cool old bottles of wine.
Canadians are so nice. Only Canadians preface their Thanksgiving. Like, we had Canadian Thanksgiving. Any American is like, Thanksgiving, and I expect the world to know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, well, anyway, like, because when I post something on social and I'm like, it's Thanksgiving, everyone's like, what are you talking about? And we have Thanksgiving too. We just do it earlier. So anyway, we had Canadian Thanksgiving and I opened some really cool bottles of wine from the winery that I used to work for, Weingut am Stein. And they blew everyone's mind. Like they were so friggin' good that I immediately the next day went and made an order at the winery. And usually, like, I worked there for 4 years. I'm like family at that winery. But I was like, you know what? I know they're gonna give me a discount and do this whole thing, and like I just wanted to like really get in there and like make this big secret order. So I ordered way too much wine, and it came yesterday, and we had to carry it upstairs, which was a mission. But pulled one out, opened it today. It's a Sylvaner. So Sylvaner you'll find mostly in Franconia in Germany, but it's in a few other regions. It's a pretty historic wine, and the vineyard that it comes from is really interesting. So it comes from in Franconia, the little town of Würzburg, and it's coming from the vineyard that is the Würzburger Stein. This is a super historical vineyard. It's one of the biggest single sites in all of Europe. And Goethe, the German writer and poet, actually used to reference Stein wine in some of his work. And anyway, it's a wicked wine. It's very like flinty and like straight as an arrow. It's dry. It's just friggin' awesome. And it's got these like really nice saline characteristics, got really, really deep roots in limestone soil. And it's just awesome. So if you're ever looking for a really good food wine and you want to try some top quality German wines, then see if you can find a Sylvaner. You can also find them in Alsace, but I think the very best Sylvaner comes from the Stettiner Stein and the Würzburger Stein. I am biased in Germany. So that's what I'm drinking. And I could go into it a lot more, but I feel like a lot of you guys are like, German wine, particularly Dave.
Well, you could have shared an interesting factoid. A lot of Sylvaner from Franconia comes in a box bottle, which is that really cool bottle with the short neck and then the sort of semi-elliptical short body.
The one that everyone's
very historic,
like Matus, and I'm going to be like, yes, but no. But
yes, yeah. But no.
Yes, but no. Yeah, and actually, if you, I know, Rodolfo, you probably saw this coming already, but this is where I'm going to say there is a myth. I don't know if this is true, so it's a myth that the box bottle used to be made of a goat scrotum. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it
right there. You know what? That's enough wine facts from me.
Yep. Moving on.
So Rodolfo's drinking tap water.
I don't even have a glass of tap water, but I will get one in short order. Yes. But I had I had a little bit of a Super Tuscan to carry me into the early evening on Eastern time yesterday. I stopped having any once I saw the prevailing winds, and called it a night.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we need to get into, the I don't want to directly relate these things, but maybe the silver lining.
Let's talk about the banana zone.
Dave, come on.
Oh, can I say banana zone? No, you're allowed to say banana zone now. And I think we've got some fun stuff to talk about with the banana zone.
Yeah, Dave, you're just not picking up on it. We've rehearsed this. Dave just killed it.
Sorry.
So guys, the silver lining of all of that. Are you ready? Hang on.
Yeah.
Give me tricky. I think I already gave it away. Oh shit.
Oh.
We rehearsed this, Dave. What the heck?
Jana banana.
No, it's the banana zone. And also my wine glass today, guys. We are officially in the banana zone. Now, go ahead, Dave.
It's very exciting. And it's exciting for two reasons. Because we have a little bit of alpha to drop, right, around banana zone stuff. We actually today we're gonna talk about two of our new winery partners that we're launching with, and they're you guys know. Any of you who have been Club dVIN members for a while or have been following us for a little while, you know that we work with a lot of wineries from all over the world, and we've done drops with some of the most famous wineries in Europe and starting to do some in the States. But we've also found, we also think it's really interesting to do projects with, I don't know, lesser known, more interesting, more up and coming, fun projects. And so I want to talk today, or we're going to talk today about two fun projects that are upcoming. The first of which, any of you who have been following us for a while know that we've been working for years on this project in the Bhutan, right? You probably followed along. Or even if you've looked at our social media, you've seen us mention Bhutan 100 times. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. I found out about the project for the first time 5 or 6 years ago when I met the guy who planted the first vines there. And we've been talking forever. We've been, I got to know the guy really well. We drink a lot of wine together on 6 continents at this point. And I've known him for a long time. And about 5 or 6 years ago, he planted the first vines. And 2 years ago, we took a group of dVIN, Club dVIN members to Bhutan to do the very, very first barrel harvest. It's called the first, to harvest the first barrel. Now, this year was actually the inaugural harvest, which is the first commercial harvest, right? The grapes that they harvested this year are going in, are actually going to be sold. They're going into bottles are going to barrels, and then we'll go into bottles, and then those bottles will be sold. But last year, we went and we harvested the first grapes. And, you know, I don't know if this is an exact apples to apples comparison, but you know how if you've got like little kids and it's Sunday morning and you go out and you get the newspaper and you come back and you make pancakes. Like, that's what you do, right? On a Sunday morning, you make pancakes for your kids. Now, the first pancake is never any good, right? Because the griddle's not quite hot enough, and maybe there's a little bit too much butter and whatever. And so the first pancake is always a little bit too crunchy, and it's not the right color, and it's screwed up. It's not fluffy enough. So you always have to kind of toss the first pancake. For me, I just always give it to my least favorite person at the table. I figure that's the right thing to do. But in reality, what you're supposed to do is throw the first pancake away. Well, with wine, it's a little bit different, right? So how it works when you create a new winery and you plant new vines, and I've done this in a couple of different places, is, you know, the first year you bring in the tractors and you first you have to like make sure that you have to make sure that the land is ready for planting. You have to prep the soil, which is, you know, difficult. And then you've got to put in the posts, which is typically like a year later, and sometimes the irrigation system, if you have an irrigation system, the post and the trellising. And then the third year, or sometimes the fourth year, is when you can finally plant the first vines, right? You put the first rootstock in the ground, you got to make sure you've got the right clones, and you plant your first vines. And then once you do that, it's usually like 3 years or sometimes 4 before the vine is grown enough to actually produce fruit, to produce enough to produce fruit that you can that will actually, you know, like you'll get veraison, you'll get the right color fruit, and you'll be able to harvest the fruit that's worth harvesting. And however, that first year, they're typically kind of crappy, right? Like it's like the first pancake; they're not right. And so you can't really sell that wine your first year. So what we decided to do, what happens in a lot of different places is they make what's called the first barrel, which is they go through the process and see if it'll ferment. But typically what they're doing is they're putting all the grapes together in the same fermenting vessel, or typically they'll do it in a barrel, right? and they'll ferment it in the barrel. And that's what we did in Bhutan last year, not 2 months ago, but a year and 2 months ago. Well, as it turns out, that first barrel is now being put into bottles. Rolfo, do you want to talk a little bit about that? You might know a little bit more about the specifics of that. I know they've been chatting with you a little bit about it. Can you talk just a little bit about what the different bottles are, if you remember off the top of your head?
Without disclosing more than I should, it will be put into I think 42 bottles total, but of some extremely cool, very large format bottles, including a bottle that was created for this purpose, called, they're calling it a Himalaya, and the size is obviously a reference to the Himalayas. I forget the exact size.
I want to say it's 17.4 liters. I don't know. It's in reference to the height of the tallest mountain in Bhutan.
And it will be super cool. Not glamorous on the back end. By that I mean not the back end of the bottle, but it will require a little bit of it'll require just a tiny bit of paperwork and compliance to be able to bring to the market a format that doesn't exist by any sort of international metric. So that's going to be that'll be fun to
we know this, by the way. We know this, by the way, because when the Mike and Ann, who run the Bhutan Wine Company, they kind of came up with this idea, and they had the bottles made, and like the bottles were hand blown in California, and then like hand etched with like the Himalayas on it, and like a relief of the vineyards, and it's all this very cool. They only made 2 of them in the world, and then and the idea behind these bottles is that our friends at Bonhams are going to auction off these first barrel bottles as collector's items, right? These are the first bottles of wine ever made in Bhutan. But when so again, this is Mike and Ann, right? So I'm on the phone with them and the guys I introduced them to the guys from Bonhams, and they were like, Bonhams are super excited, and everyone's excited about like selling these first barrel bottles. And then they were like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like put them in my luggage and bring them over. And Bonhams was like, no, like we need paperwork. We need to see the provenance. Like they actually need to be imported into the country. And like that just never occurred to Mike and Ann, right? They were like, well, but like I've got bottles that I just brought them in a suitcase. And they're like, no, like we can't auction them if they're just brought in a suitcase. You have to have bills of lading, and you have to go through the whole process, and the labels have to be improved. Like you have to do all that stuff. Well, as it turns out, getting the labels approved, well, and we know this because like we're all on the phone. We're all on a call with Mike and the Bottoms guys, and they're having this conversation, and then they're like, well, how are we going to get it in the country? And there's this pause, and I can feel both of them looking at me, in which case I immediately just called Rodolfo and said, Rodolfo, you need to figure out how we're going to get these bottles in the country. So he's been working on that for the last few weeks. It's
moving forward, but I can tell you, for anybody who knows the industry or knows wine and all the trappings, there's some acrobatics involved here, logistical, and that's without even talking about all the other things that weren't contemplated or properly contemplated Like if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So you know, the color of this was wrong, the shape of that was wrong, this had to be redone, that redone. And then of course there are no standard machines to do anything for a format that doesn't exist. So you'll have to do it all by hand. And if the machine doesn't exist, somebody will have to build it. Like a machine that can,
like what we did for Breakpoint for 4,000 bottles of champagne?
So
yes.
worse than that, like to put the corks in these bottles,
Yes.
they had to have a special corker built in Switzerland and flown over to Bhutan.
I know.
To put two corks in.
I've been there and I've seen it and I've tasted the barrel and yeah. Okay. So
here's what's cool about this. Well, there's two cool things. The first is we're tokenizing all these bottles, obviously. We're attaching Vincoin to all of these bottles, obviously. So this auction is going to be happening. I think it's April 2nd at Bonhams in New York, live auction. There are other than these 42 bottles, there are two other bottles. One of them will be owned by the King of Bhutan, and the other by the King of Japan, who's his good friend and drinking buddy. So it's going to be a very, very rare set of wine, and dVIN members will have a crack at the first auction, which is very exciting. Very soon after that, and kind of what we wanted to announce is around that same time, we'll be offering the regular public the ability to be able to buy bottles from the actual first commercial harvest that's this year, or that Jana was just at a little while ago. And so by the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter of next year, you'll be able to buy wines from the Bhutan Wine Company. The very, very first bottles, all of them will be tokenized using dVIN protocol, and all of them will have Vincoin attached. And we're very, very excited to be working with the royal family of Bhutan, with the Bhutan Wine Company, with Bonhams on this. It's a pretty amazing and historic thing.
Yes, and now I'm going to tie it together because we started talking about the banana zone, and then we got into Bhutan, and we haven't explained anything about how this is all connected. So let me take it back a second. So you guys see behind me, I activated the banana, which I wish I could take the credit for actually activating the banana zone, but obviously, there were larger forces at play that got that going today. But today, Bitcoin hit an all-time high, and I've been getting notifications all day. It's Bitcoin's pumping. So the banana zone is when on a price chart, basically, the price goes up pretty fast and it creates this shape on the chart that looks like a banana. This is called the banana zone. We have not been allowed to talk about the banana zone. We have only been allowed to summon the banana zone, which means that before Bitcoin hit its all-time high today, we were only allowed to talk about the yellow fruit. We weren't allowed to say banana zone. Anyone who said banana zone
got in a lot of trouble.
Don't even. Raoul Paul at Real Vision has been very serious about this. And if you listened to Drinks with Raoul, the last Drinks with Raoul, he was reaming people out for talking about the banana zone before anyone was allowed to talk about it. So now we can talk about it. Last week I was in San Francisco doing an event with Real Vision's RVIP community, and they gave me this banana as a thank you for speaking about the dVIN AI, which was super cool and right on time. So today I obviously had to put it up. But now the connection to Bhutan and the banana zone is interesting. I actually hung these things together. This is so I was in Bhutan last year and this past summer, so 2 summers in a row. So I got to participate in the first barrel and the first actual commercial harvest. And as a memory of that, I have these original hand-carved Bhutanese, hand-painted, hand-carved Bhutanese masks to remind me that I got to participate in this really historical moment. So today I took down 2 of the masks to make space for the banana for this purpose of today's Wine Wednesday. And then it dawned on me that there is actually a real connection here. So Bhutan happens to be one of the largest governmental Bitcoin holdings, or they have the 4th largest Bitcoin holding of all governments in the world. And they've got over 13,000 Bitcoin, which is now worth over $950 million US. Pretty cool. But the cool thing about that is how they are mining Bitcoin. So what they're doing is they're using natural energy resources. And whenever there's resources left over, so they're using like geothermal resources, and they're using, it's very, very cool. You can look it up. They're basically using hydro energy and geothermal energy to mine Bitcoin. And
it's the only place with a carbon negative footprint.
It's one of the only countries that is carbon negative. Yes. But
yeah,
anyway.
Costa Rica, I think, is now carbon negative as well.
Yeah, exactly, which is really cool. So anyways, I just realized that Bitcoin hit an all-time high, and I hung up the banana in the same cabinet that my Bhutanese masks are in, which I just thought was really cool. So anyways, the ramble. It's Banana Zone. That's what we're celebrating. And now we're going to tell you about the second very cool Banana Zone thing that we're doing. Rodolfo, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about the Banana Zone?
About our friends from Australia?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I'm going to leave it to you, Rodolfo.
We're gonna keep it a little bit on the down low, but
Rodolfo's in the doghouse, not me then.
Maybe
Rodolfo.
Dave. Maybe Dave's neck should be extended for this, not mine.
It's all fine. So those of you who have been dVIN members for a while, especially those of you who have kind of followed our exploits around the world, know that that one of the winemakers that we've been working with, and again, most of the time we work with 10th generation investment grade winemakers that from France and Italy and Spain and Napa and Australia. But every once in a while, we'll run into a winemaker who's got an amazing, fun, cool story. And in this case, that winemaker was a friend of Raul's. And so, I don't know, we started maybe 2 years ago. I don't know, a long time ago. We started working with Over the Line, and it's a really fantastic story. It's a guy that used to work with Raul in London, moved back to Australia, and became one of the largest grape growers in the Coonawarra region. And super good guy. He sent wine all over the world for us for our VIP events. He's a GMI member and an RVIP member, and an old friend of Raul's. And he had a pretty interesting idea earlier this year to create a special cuvee, a special bottling that was celebrating the Banana Zone, and offer it only to dVIN members and Real Vision members. And it's a pretty special wine, and it's going to be available.
So cool. Like we've seen the bottle, we've seen the labels. We're not going to give all of that away or show you, but oh man, like pretty freaking cool.
It's pretty cool. And now that we can talk about the Banana Zone, we can talk about the wine. We can talk about the wine a little bit, but it's pretty special.
And the fact that every wine, I love this. I think, Dave, this was I don't know if this came from Jack or if this came from you, but either way, it's brilliant. Every wine has a Banana Zone. So like, when is it the right time to drink the wine, right? Very, very cool. The wine is going to be, I don't know how specific we can get right now, but you're going to be able to get the wine soon. We're going to tell more about it. Obviously, this isn't going to be a secret for much longer. Banana Zone is here. So you're going to start to hear about it. Whether or not you're going to be able to buy it is going to depend on whether or not you're a member of dVIN or of Real Vision, and if you can get your hands on it fast enough. But just stay tuned for those announcements. It's going to be a pretty cool souvenir, and the wine inside the bottle, much more than a souvenir. We're talking about one of the legendary winemakers of Australia, working with one of the top growers in the Coonawarra one of Australia's premium wine regions. So this is not like a gimmicky, cool souvenir bottle and that's it. This is like a wicked wine and a really, really cool.
No, it hits all the, it's like great juice, great packaging, and the we can't get into all the details, but the packaging is extraordinary in every sense. Great concept, great timing.
Super collector's item.
Yeah, it truly will be, and it's rare. Like often, you know, a new wine will hit one or two of those things, but not everything.
Yeah.
And again, you know, all of these bottles will be tokenized. All of them will come with an allocation of Vincoin, and these will be true collector's items. So you should be pretty excited about that.
Yes, man, Banana Zone, guys. We've been waiting for this.
It's a lot of fun stuff.
It's a lot of fun stuff.
We are at about time. I need to go back to drinking.
Your bottle's empty. What are you gonna open next?
I'm gonna open another, maybe another bottle of the same.
When we talked, hold on. Last night we had one of our last team calls of the day yesterday. I can't remember what it was, Dave. I think I asked like, can we stay on for a second to talk about whatever? And I think the answer was, I'm gonna start drinking soon with the elections. So look, you're still going. I respect that.
I'm still going.
You seem good. Dave's a professional.
He's a professional.
I am a professional. Anyway,
here to catch up on, but
anything else from any more news from you, Jana or Rodolfo? Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, just really quickly, had a great event in San Francisco last weekend. Well, a few days ago, it's Wednesday. So it was great. Spoke about the AI. If anybody caught last week's Wine Wednesday, you'll get a deep dive into our Wine Guy AI. That's what I was in San Francisco to talk about. So definitely be sure to go back and find that. It's up on our YouTube and it's on X as usual. So if you're interested in finding out about that, Dave did a great demo where you're going to be able to see actually how to use it. So definitely we encourage you guys to get in there and play around with Wine Guy. It is like the coolest wine tool I've ever seen. Pretty proud to be able to say that we built it. But yeah, it's basically your personal sommelier in your pocket. So that was really cool. And yeah, the Real Vision community is excited about it. We're excited about it. You guys should get in there and play around. That's it from me. I'm going to have another glass of Sylvaner. What about you, Rodolfo?
I'm going to go grab a glass of water. I'm thirsty.
Okay.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, make sure and follow us. If you're on YouTube, follow us. If you're on Twitter, X, follow us.
Yeah.
Give us one of those, 5-star ratings or thumbs up or whatever it is you do on the social media that all the kids are doing.
Please.
Thank you very much. We'll see everybody next Wednesday.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.